Welcome, everybody. Today is Friday, August 18th. We are getting ready for our fantasy football draft next week. This is fantasy football not suitable for work, of course. I'm Maya, my buddy in the Eagles gear. That's Bill. And then the Falcons fan is Sam. So we just want to go through, have a little fun, have a little analysis, get each other's opinions, and talk a whole bunch of shit. It's highly recommended that you wear some earbuds or watch where your kids are. We keep it as clean as possible, but that's not saying much. So I'd like to dive into the news. If there's any news, Bill, anything ring your bell this week?
What's wrong, Captain? What's wrong, Captain? Prediction? You don't have any fucking news from 3 months ago?
I got breaking fucking news here. The Falcons have a Chick-fil-A that'll never be open.
There you go.
What the fuck was that?
Jesus Christ.
Man, I'd be pissed if I was a Falcons fan.
Let's
want
break
Chick-fil-A
this
on
down.
Sunday.
Let's break this goddamn tailspin down. And it started in about the third quarter of the Super Bowl. and then you roll into, they have this brand new beautiful stadium and they decide to go season tickets only. Okay, whatever. And now fucking the whole Chick-fil-A thing. I mean, why would you give up real estate in a fucking Mercedes-Benz brand new stadium that's not even going to fucking earn revenue except on Monday night?
Yeah, well, first of all, I was trying to pull it off to get there to go to the first game against the Packers. And, that kind of fell apart. But, yeah, the season ticket thing was like, what the hell? Yeah, the Chick-fil-A thing's a joke. That's stupid. Somebody would think that's real.
Unbelievable.
Still the greatest Super Bowl failure of all time, though. I'll at least have something to hang my hat on.
There you go. You'll always have that memory.
Sure
all right,
will.
guys. If there's nothing else, I'd like to move on to the NFC East. Might as well start with the Eagles. Don't need Bill getting blue balls through the episode, waiting to gush over his beloved Eagles. So I'll go ahead and toss it to you, Bill, first. How are you feeling this season, and what's catching your eye?
I have high hopes for this season. And everyone's going to say that about their team, of course. But, I mean, really, they got better on paper. They were 7-9 with a brand new rookie QB. And they lost many of those 9 games within one score. So you guys have been watching football long enough. You know, it's a lot of games can be turned just with one play. I'm excited. I've got really high hopes. Carson Wentz looks good. He's got a year under his belt. Game probably going to slow down for him a little bit more. We addressed every single hole on the team. I really think we're looking at top 5D. Yeah, we can dive into players individually. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Talk LeGarrette Blount.
What do you think, Sam?
About LeGarrette Blount specifically, or about the Eagles?
Both.
So the Eagles, as Bill knows, has been near and dear to my heart. They're kind of my adopted team. I always pull for them when the Falcons are, out of the picture. Their defense looks scary, good, and I do think the Eagles are going to be a dangerous team. Now, Bill made an interesting point to me about a month ago. He made a prediction, and he's been pretty solid on these predictions each year, but he predicted that the Eagles and Falcons would face each other in the playoffs. So that would be quite the matchup. But overall, I definitely think they've improved. And I definitely see them. I think they have a good shot of taking their division, even as competitive as that division is.
Let me just add one other thing I said, Maya, was not only do I think they'll face each other, but I think it's going to be number 1 offense, Falcons, versus number 1 defense, Billy.
Really? That's kind of big, just even in the NFC East, let alone the whole NFC. I mean, the Giants, their firepower, Odell Beckham, oh my, have you seen his recent catches in practice? They're even more ridiculous. You add Brandon Marshall. Now, I'm not so concerned as him being a wide receiver too and stealing targets away from Odell, but I think he's more of a character role model for Odell. They had similar behavior when Brandon Marshall was early in his career. you know, there's just a couple other offenses in the NFC that I would say have a better shot at being number one.
Well, first of all, fuck you. Second of all, I don't agree with you. I think the Giants, Eli Manning is an idiot. I think
he's trash.
I think he's garbage.
He is trash, but even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Well, yeah, but that's not a number one offense. I mean, Odell Beckham is phenomenal, but I don't like the running game, and you got to be multidimensional. But let's not worry about the Giants for a moment. Let's go back to the Eagles.
We'll get there, yeah.
Let me talk about LeGarrette Blount. I'm going to comment on him for a minute. So I think it's a really good fit for them, for the Eagles and for Blount. Blount still has a little bit of gas left in the tank. I think in standard leagues his value is higher than PPR, but he's still the blunt force trauma. I think it's a good fit. I think he's valuable. Let's see. He's going early 8th. And the players that are around him are Tevin Coleman and Eddie Lacy. I would definitely take LeGarrette Blount ahead of those guys. Bill, what do you think?
He even caught a 17-yard pass yesterday, so that just gave me hope that they'll be able to utilize him a little bit. I mean, obviously Darren Sproles will be the primary passing down back, but they have just so many options. There's so much depth on that team. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched preseason last night, but this freaking undrafted free agent Corey Clement, he's a stud. He's fighting for a spot because they have so much depth. I mean, how many running backs can one team roster on a 53-man roster? But I want to see him make the team because he's a stud. LeGarrette Blount is I really like his ADP. I think that's got value written all over it. I will, if he falls to me in the 8th, I'm not even going to hesitate. But I might even take him, a touch earlier than that.
I like LeGarrette Blount in the 8th. I like him behind that number one offensive line. And I like him even a little bit more now that Ryan Matthews definitely left. There was rumbling in the bushes, but it raises his value a little bit for me to know that finally happened. Now, you touched on Darren Sproles. Does anybody think he's draftable this year? Sam?
Draftable, probably not. I think there's other value out there, but Sproles is always one of those guys that you pick up off the waiver wire when he starts to trend up, and you can see it because he starts to have multiple games where he just shows up, but he's not a guy that. I mean, it's situational based that you're going to have him and flex him in somewhere, but I don't know that you draft. I wouldn't draft him.
I agree. Let's move on from Darren Sproles and get on to the hot new item in Philly, Alshon Jeffrey. He was suspended 4 games last year because of drug policy. Something that makes me a little nervous is one more slip up and he's gone for the year, right? Sam?
Yeah.
Finished as wide receiver 54 after missing 4 games on a terrible Bears offense. You kind of can't fault him halfway for that. 2017, he's going wide receiver 38 in the late 4th around Keenan Allen and Tyreek Hill. I don't know. Out of these two guys, I think I'd rather have Keenan Allen. It'd go Keenan, Alshon, Tyreek for me. How about you, Bill?
I'm I right on with you. I can't believe Keenan Allen's going in the late 4th.
Mm-hmm. Mid to late 4th, yeah.
It
might change since I statted this page. Let me pull it up real quick.
I'm sorry. I'm not a big Keenan Allen fan. I never have been. He always seems to either be hurt or his quarterback's a piece of shit. I don't.
Right now, Keenan Allen's going at the 402 mark in 10-team leagues.
Yeah.
If Keenan Allen plays a whole season, he's a top 10 wide receiver.
If he plays a whole – right.
Yeah.
If.
I mean, you'd say the same thing about Gronkowski. He's always hurt too, but you can't argue the talent. You have to take those chances, I think. It sucks. And I hear a lot of arguments out there that he's not – a lot of people don't want to call him injury prone just based on his injuries. Like one of them was a lacerated spleen. That's just a fluke thing. It's not like he's twisting the same damn knee every, year after year. It's just crazy shit like that. I have no reason to doubt that he could play a whole season. And if he does, goddamn, watch out. But Alshon Jeffrey, right. Late 4th, you bet I'll take him. He looked great in his debut last night. There was a lot of chemistry there with Carson Wentz. I'm excited as an Eagles fan, I'll tell you that much.
That's fantastic. You got anything on Alshon there, Sam? Anything else?
No, I think he's in a better system. I think he's going to do really well this year.
Excellent. Torrey Smith, he's going undrafted. Just be aware of him as a late flyer for on the waiver wire later on in the season when Alshon gets hurt or suspended.
Watch that. Watch that right now. We can record. This is recorded. Torrey Smith, I think he's going to be a waiver wire pickup. He's going to be one of those guys you can pick up, and he's going to have some games.
All right, we'll put that one on the board. I know how we all generally feel about tight ends, but Zach Ertz is hanging out there. He's to me, he seems like he's been a perennial disappointment. Got any feelings on Zach Ertz there, Sam?
So I think I mentioned this in another broadcast, but Zach Ertz is actually on my list of tight ends that I like. And I think that where he actually gets drafted is a good spot for me to pick him up. I think he's going to have a good year this year. He's got a good coaching staff, good scheme, the quarterback. I think Carson Wentz is stable and consistent. And with the firepower that they have, I think he's gonna have some conversions here. He's a big guy. He's strong. He's gonna. I think this is his year to really step up and be a good fantasy option.
Excellent. Hey, Bill, was that enough satisfaction for you? Can we move on?
Just a couple of quick things. Torrey Smith, don't hold it against Torrey Smith that he was in fantasy purgatory the last couple of years. He's still got it, and that was a steal to get him for as cheap as we did to have him on the other side as Alshon. And I agree with Sam on Zach Ertz. He had 78 catches last year for 800 and change in yards. Little low on TDs at 4, but lots of upside there. He's super talented, and hopefully they can get him going.
Excellent. Next up is the New York Giants. They finished 11-5 last year, even with no running game. Took second in the division, was a wild card team. I have a hard time wrapping my head around how they didn't address their running game in the draft with such a deep running back class. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I do like Evan Ingram, like him as a slot. I still like Sterling Shepard too. I can see a lot of 4 wide coming in the future. I don't know. How are you feeling about the New York Giants this year, Sam?
Well, their head coach looks like a 1990s porn star. So there's that. Not the 80s. 90s.
What was that guy's name in San Francisco that looked like Ron Jeremy? What was his name? You remember? Someone look that up.
Jim, is it Tom Sula or?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's the other. He was probably late 80s porn star. This guy looks like a 90s porn star.
Oh, more up to date. More in our wheelhouse.
Yeah, their running game's just, yeah. I mean, the Giants, but here's the thing about the Giants, man. They seem to have the ball bounce their way every couple of years. Like they're just be kind of, hanging in there, and then they get in the playoffs, and then all hell breaks loose, and they win the Super Bowl. So, you always have to be. They're dangerous, but I look at their roster, look at the talent on there. Obviously, Odell Beckham. We don't have to even talk about him. Sterling Shepard. I hope he stays relevant. I mean, I actually picked him up 2 minutes before a matchup last year and started him. And he ended up being the difference maker. It was against another guy in our league. And I beat him barely. I was projected to lose by 30, and I beat him by like 2.5 points or something. He about lost his shit. But Sterling Shepard was a guy I went and picked up late. So, anyway.
Nice. I like Sterling Shepard. He's got the talent to get you excited. I don't think he's in the greatest spot to showcase it, but I could see him having some potential this year, especially if any kind of injury happens. I don't really want to spend too much time on the Giants running backs. Paul Perkins has been projected to be the number 1 back, but that's not saying much. They got quite a bit of depth there, and they seem to just ride the hot hand. So, yeah. Now, someone I want to spend a little time on is Brandon Marshall. He's been, I don't know why the fuck, but I've drafted him every fucking year since he's had a league. And, and honestly, this year I probably will too. Late 7th, it's worth the flyer. He's a good red zone target if he'll fucking catch it. And I don't know, guys going in a spot like Doug Martin and Jamison Crowder, I think I'd rather take the potential with Brandon Marshall. What do you think, Bill?
So real quick, let's talk about what did you when we were in Vegas, what did you think Ron Jeremy's nickname was?
The Mule. He's the Mule.
Let's call the Giants coach the Mule.
I like it.
All right.
Let's
there you go.
Refer to him as the Mule.
Head coach the Mule.
That's Ron Jeremy's twin brother, Bob Jeremy.
Mule. Half brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brandon Marshall. Late 7th, huh?
That's what it says. I statted this a couple days ago, and the ADP has been going nuts.
Yeah, there's been some shifts, but I'd love to add some great commentary to this, but I don't know. I don't want to take anyone that's not Odell Beckham Jr.
I got some.
If he falls to me late, okay, that's one thing, but I'm not targeting him. Go ahead.
So I got a funny thing. So you're right, Maya. You probably will draft him. A couple years ago.
Oh fuck! Here we go.
we were in Wendover eating breakfast, and it was Maya and I and another guy, and I actually be playing Maya, and it had playoff implications in our league, and I told Maya at breakfast, I'm like, man, are you going to start Brandon Marshall? And he's like, I don't know, man. I was like, I'm telling you.
He was hurt. He'd been battling that high ankle sprain.
I just said, man, I got a feeling. Who were they playing? Was it the Browns that they were playing?
The Niners.
They were playing Niners?
They were playing the fucking Niners.
And how many touchdowns he ended up snagging? Like
three, four. Three or four. I don't know. So, it was a lot. I was pounding the Bloody Marys trying to numb the pain.
I walked away to go play some blackjack. I came back and found you, and you're just like, you had your head in your hands at the bar. You're like, fuck.
I was broke as fuck and brokenhearted. Yeah.
So I went on to the league, and I went and changed your name to Forgetting Brandon Marshall. Remember that? Your team name? Yeah. You better draft his ass.
Stay out of my team this year. All right. I prefaced him earlier. Evan Ingram, their fresh draft pick this year, kind of exciting. Not your typical tight end. He's a little small, not so hip to the blocking, but he can definitely get out and snag some balls. I find him fantasy relevant. I'm not sure exactly where I'd take him. Maybe if I got to the end of my draft and totally forgot to draft a tight end, I'd snag him real quick. But I don't know. What's your predictions for him this year, Sam?
Who?
Evan Ingram.
I don't have any predictions on him.
You haven't watched any tape on him?
There's no reason for me to. I'm in an 8-team league. I wouldn't fucking touch him. Next.
All right.
He's ultra fast. He's ultra fast, which
awesome.
Super fast in a garbage position where the number one tight end last year had 4 touchdowns. So I'm looking for something to get me excited in the tight end spot. On to the Washington Redskins, 8-7-1 last year. I don't know how the fuck you tie, but they finished 3rd in the division. Started hot, kind of fell off a little bit. This year they're looking middle of the road. Their offense is looking a little exciting. It gets me excited. Curious to see what they'll do in this tough division. I'd like to throw out Kirk Cousins at first. I like Cousins. I think the Redskins fucked up by not signing him to $21 million a year 2 years ago. Now he's going to cost him 26, 27. The guy just continues to prove himself, and he's going in the mid-9th. So I'm really high on Kirk Cousins. I hope you guys are not. Tell me you're cold on him, Sam.
I just have a bad feeling about him, and I can't pin anything on it other than I think he's gonna throw a lot of interceptions. I know he has some weapons, but I just, I don't know. Not a big fan.
Okay. I'll go the other way. Kirk Cousins is on my list because he's one of those top 7 or so QBs that is falling. I mean, I've done some mocks where he's even come up in the teens as far as rounds go. That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
If I'm sitting there in the 9th round and Kirk Cousins is there, you bet your ass I'm taking him. Dude, he's got weapons. He's a great QB. I'm all over it.
He threw 606 passes last year and had almost 5,000 yards, 25 touchdowns. That's great efficiency, especially coming that late in the draft. I just don't see how you could pass on him.
He's a stud.
I agree.
Yeah, I think he's going to fuck up. So there we go.
All right, like fuck up, like accidentally kiss your sister, or
I think he does kiss his sister for one, and I think the second thing is I think he's going to have a lot of interceptions this year.
You're only saying that because his eyes are slightly crossed. All right, now an interesting spot, at least interesting to me, is the backfield for the Washington Redskins. Robert Kelly, as of right now, has that starting job. I believe Samaje Perine, his first NFL carry, he put the ball on the ground. So
yeah.
And then you still got Chris Thompson running around back there that seems to be the obvious pass catching back. So in our half-point PPR league, who do you find to be the most relevant back in Washington?
Well, it's Robert Kelly. I mean, Samaje Perine's sexy. There's been a lot of buzz about him, but right now, Robert Kelly, he's got the job, and he looked good last year. He wasn't totally sexy. No, he's not on anyone's list like, I got to have Robert Kelly, but if he falls to you in the right spot, which, I mean, if he's going in the 10th, holy shit, I'd be surprised if he actually lasts till the 10th.
Him and Robert Kelly, Samaje Perine and Robert Kelly are going almost one after another in that 10th round. So if you got the coin flip, you calling it Robert Kelly?
Yes, unless something changes in the during preseason.
Sam?
So Fat Rob is actually trending up. He looks like he's going in mid-9th round now. Early 9th round, And Fat Rob is he's got the job. I definitely
fucking Dr. Seuss over there.
Yeah. He needs to lay off the fucking green eggs and ham, maybe.
Okay, so, Sam.
When he so if he's around, he's definitely value though. I definitely with what's available out there around his spot, I would. If he's available, I'd put him on my team.
How long?
I'll tell you a quick.
Go ahead. I'm
going to tell you before we talk about that. I want to tell you a quick story because I like telling my stories also, Sam. I was last year when they were. It's fun. You mentioned the tie. This all wraps together. They tied Cincinnati in their London game, and it was that week that Matt Jones lost the job, and I went and put in a claim for Robert Kelly, and you took Chris Thompson for some reason.
Yeah, I clicked the wrong button. I clicked the wrong button. They were like right next to each other. Actually, when I seen R. Kelly on the waiver wire list, I thought it was R&B star from 1996. You know, the one that was pissing on. Yeah, I thought he was pissing on underage girls.
Little golden shower, huh?
I definitely wanted no part of that. I could see a suspension coming for something like that. So I thought Chris Thompson was the smarter, safer pick.
So that game was on at like 7 in the morning, and I had to go to work that morning. So I'm sitting there at work, and you and I were playing each other, and on the very first drive, Robert Kelly got in the end zone and already hit his 10 points. So I was just like, fucking buy it. I loved it.
Yeah, that never fucking fails. I feel like I'm the bad news bears of our league. I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. It doesn't matter. If I started Brandon Marshall that week that Sam told me to, he would have broke his cunt, and then he would have been out the rest of the season. So I'm just damned if you do, damned if you don't. Another one that I want to get to is Terrell Pryor. Terrible quarterback, excellent wide receiver. Looked good in Cleveland. I can only imagine his ceiling being even higher in Washington. Where could you see yourself drafting him, Bill?
It says right here he's going in the late 3rd. If he falls to me in the late 3rd, I'm taking him. He's a number 1 receiver.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's a top 12 guy. I want him.
And a stud muffin in the red zone if Jordan Reed's hurt, which is highly probable. Feelings on Terrell Pryor, Sam? You like him over Doug Baldwin and DeAndre Hopkins?
I've never liked Doug Baldwin. Seattle's offense is just fantasy-wise, it's a struggle for me to get behind that. And yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, he's talented, but again, it comes back to that quarterback. And I know I kind of ripped on Kirk Cousins a little bit, but all joking aside, he's a pretty consistent quarterback. And so, yeah, I do like him. I definitely think he's worth that late 3rd.
Right on. The other relevant wide receiver over there is Jamison Crowder. He was a unforeseen surprise last season, I would say. Totally under everybody's radar. At least he was mine. But this year, not so much under the radar, going mid-6th, late 6th, around Willie Snead and Stephon Diggs. I'm not quite sure how I feel on Crowder. I'm kind of lukewarm. Like, I could take it or leave it. Sam, what do you think about him?
He's big. He's got good hands, and he can score touchdowns. So I think he's the best option about where his ADP's at and what other options are out there. Willie Snead and Stephon Diggs. I like him better than both of those guys. So actually, I'm pretty high on him.
Really? I like both of those guys better. I like both of those guys better for sure. Bill?
Yeah, I definitely like Stephon Diggs better. And possibly Willie Snead.
So why do you like Stephon Diggs better? I'm just curious when they've got a fucked up quarterback. Help me understand that.
We already disagree. There. I don't think Sam Bradford's fucked up. He had the best accuracy in the league last year.
Mm-hmm. And Stephon Diggs operates in that underneath slot.
You got to back that up with stats other than just feelings. I mean, he does not get enough credit. He looked fantastic last year, and that was coming in with a week of preseason. So I don't expect him to be better this year.
Let me tell you something about stats. Stats are really, when it comes to a lot of this shit, they're overblown. So I'll tell you, I trust my feelings more than I trust somebody's fucked up stats, because every time I trust stats, they change every fucking 5 minutes. I tell you right now, I trust my feelings more than I trust that, and I disagree with you on that. I think Sam Bradford's not good, and I don't like their offense, and I'm surprised on the Stephon Diggs thing. I hope to see him on your team. I'm excited to see him in your lineup.
All right.
Me too.
A guy you won't see on my lineup is Jordan Reed. Guy's already battling back from an injury in camp. He's always hurt. I don't think he's ever played a full season, but when he's on the field, he's electric. So I don't know. I'd rather not take that risk, not that coin flip, especially in the late 5th. There's other wide receivers and running backs I'd rather target. How you feeling on Jordan Reed, Sam?
You keep coming to me first on tight ends, and I think, repeating myself on them.
It's because I just love the look on your face.
Yeah.
Like, how many times do I got to tell you, fuck a tight end?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, don't need to. Look, Larry Donnell, is he still in the league somewhere? Maybe I'll get him and start him.
I'm not sure.
He is. He's like on Baltimore.
Is he? Good. I think I'll go get him and put him on my team.
Might be relevant. Baltimore doesn't have a fucking tight end.
That's right.
They're all tripping in the shower and retiring. Shit.
Oh, that'd be hilarious if he ended up doing something. I remember the fucking play of Bill and Donnell. What did he have? 3 touchdowns, Bill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Thursday night football.
That one game is the only reason we know his name.
Yeah, and then I traded for him with Bill and got him, and I never got a fucking touchdown after that. I think the rest of the season.
You high on Jordan Reed, Bill? You willing to take that gamble?
Look, I don't look at gambles. If Jordan Reed falls to me at what I think is the right price, which late 5th is not it. I don't want to take Jordan Reed in the late 5th. But if we start getting into the 6th and 7th rounds, I'll take him. I'm not going to not draft an extremely talented player in a good situation just because of injury history. But it hurts their value a little bit for me. That's all.
That's dangerous. I'm surprised that you have that mentality. I mean, you don't think injury history matters? I mean,
I do think it matters. That's why I do think it matters. That's why I just said it drops their ADP for me, but it doesn't make him undraftable.
Well, explain why it's not a value a late 5th, but if he falls to the 6th, that's a value all of a sudden. What's the difference?
Look, I can get more reliable players earlier.
From late 5th to 6th.
Absolutely. There's going to be, I mean, we've already chronicled some guys that are going in the 5th or 6th round that don't have any injury history. That's the whole point that I'm saying, is that he doesn't show up on my list of do not draft. It just means I'm not willing to take him quite as early.
Who's your top tight end? Because so far you've been high on almost every one, and there's only one tight end spot to fill here. So I'm a little confused on who exactly you think's a good tight end.
I'm not going to give you my board before our draft. Kidding me?
That sounds like a total espionage plan right there. Sam just prize and prize
Listen,
and prize. But
I only agreed to do this channel to get intelligence. I mean, I'm just trying to fucking find the backwards channels to find out whatever. Yeah, underneath the desk here, where my hands are, I'm writing notes like, okay, let's see here.
Nice try, asshole.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, you got around Jordan Reed, you got Larry Fitzgerald, Martavis Bryant, Julian Edelman, Golden Tate. Any of those that you would take Jordan Reed over? Either of you, Sam, Bill?
No.
Give me those guys again.
You got Fitzgerald, Bryant, Edelman, and Tate.
Oh, that's tough. For some reason, I'm just not high on Edelman. And I think I talked about it before. There's so many mouths to feed.
Now, we'll get to the Pats a little later on in the show.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Our favorite team, Dallas Cowgirls, favorite team to rip to shreds on this show, won the division last year at 13-3. I think a lot of it was rookie luck, a soft schedule, and a great offensive line. My notes say Dan Prescott, but it's obviously Dak. Dan Prescott's like his illegitimate uncle or some shit.
It's the mule.
Yeah. Oh, is he coaching the Giants up there?
Yeah. Dirty Dan Prescott. The donkey. Dirty Dan Prescott.
So Dak Prescott going mid-10th, QB 14, finishes QB 6 last year. Has a super shitty schedule, especially for passing this year, and a Zeke suspension to deal with. So I don't find Dan Prescott to be that effective this season. Is he anyone that's on your draft board, Bill?
Nope. Let me just tell you, your research shows people going in that round: Phillip Rivers, Matt Stafford, and Tyrod Taylor. I'll take all three of them before Dak Prescott. Let me make a little prediction here on the old Dallas Cowboys: 8-8 or worse. You fucking heard it here first. They're gonna have a shit year. What a garbage team that is. What a garbage franchise. All you Dallas fans watching, suck my cock.
Didn't I say 8-8 in our very first episode when we were talking about Zeke's suspension?
I actually think Maya said it first, to be honest.
Yeah, chronicle that shit. I honestly can see it doing worse. I mean, that O-line's decimated. They have no secondary. Everybody that even made them competitive last season left. So I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be an absolute embarrassment this year.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I give you the benefit of the doubt if you said it on here. But I'll tell you, that is a completely original thought for me. I've been telling Nick fucking all off season. They fucking suck dick. I'm looking forward to their fucking demise.
So it sounds like we're on the same wavelength. Now, on to Zeke. Suspended 6 games. He submitted his official appeal this week, and we know how that could go any direction, from totally being abolished, which I don't think will happen, to maybe amended to 4 games, or he could serve the whole 6, or serve none at all this year. So where in the world do you take Zeke?
Well, right now we're just going to go with the assumption that he's going to serve all 6 games. I'm hearing we're moving him down to the 2nd or even 3rd round, and I think that's accurate. You're going to fill him in with, hopefully like a Darren McFadden type or just someone else in the meantime. So my hate for the Cowboys, rather, doesn't affect how I will draft. Zeke Elliott's talented, and when he comes back after a 6-game suspension, he'll make a difference on your fantasy team. So I'd look to take him probably in the late 2nd, early 3rd.
I'd love to argue with you on that, but I totally agree. That's exactly what, as I've been watching what's happened here, and you never know, maybe he gets it reduced down to 4, but even if it's 6, yeah, I'd take him there, late 2nd, early 3rd for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been seeing him slip into the 4th in mocks, and about there is where I would take him. I think I'd rather have two top-notch wide receivers and a lockdown RB1 before I start rolling the dice on Zeke. I guess it just depends on how big your balls are, and mine aren't that big.
But what do you mean? What do you mean rolling the dice?
On what his suspension is going to be. I mean, he could, and honestly, like for us, we're drafting August 26th, and his appeal hearing's not until the 29th.
All right, my whole commentary was based on the assumption he'll serve a full 6.
Yeah, I'm with Bill on that. And I think you have to just play with that, go with that assumption that it's going to be, you're going to go 6 games without him.
You're not going to take a 0 weeks 1 through 6. You're going to put someone else in there. It's just going to be a difference in points between those two players.
Totally agree. And I think what would be cool, depending on the way things land, if you had him on your bench and stashed him there and he wakes up week 6, that's a great asset to have right in the thick of when you're looking to, make that push to get into your fantasy playoffs.
Yeah. Yep.
So let me move on here. Des Bryant, what's your thoughts on him? I want to get your unedited opinion on what do you think his value is?
I like the talent. I don't like the usage. I don't know.
What do you mean by that? By the usage? You don't think he gets targeted enough, or what's?
Well, I have a feeling he gets targeted more than I feel like he does. Okay, he had 97 targets last year and 50 catches. So maybe I'm wrong there. He got targeted, but he sucked.
Well, let
me tell you this. He's inconsistent. He looks like a Hall of Fame ballot, first ballot receiver sometimes, and then he's like, you barely even know if he's on the field other games.
Yeah.
There's no consistency there.
Is that him? I mean, because do you feel like he's just not converting and having yards after the catch, or do you think he's just – it seemed like – and I'm not looking at stats, so I don't know. But last year it seemed like Dak wasn't even really looking for him. It seemed like he was just doing a lot of Cole Beasley, running the ball when, he felt the pocket collapse, or going to Witten.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I agree.
The problem is where Dez is going. You know what I mean? Like where he lands.
Yep.
I mean, that it kind of puts a so the viewers know, you and I, you have number 1 overall, I have number 2 overall. We're in an 18 league, and when that snake comes back around, that's about where Dez starts to line up. So.
Yep.
I'm struggling with him, man. I don't know what to do.
I don't think I'm taking him there.
Yeah, I don't know that I can. I think I'm going to have to make a play for like a T.Y. Hilton or something else.
Oh, yeah. T.Y. Hilton's sexy there for sure.
You like T.Y.? This is the part of the draft that I'm looking to trade out of. Like if I can move out of this area to move up a few spots, it'd definitely be worth it to me.
Trade alert.
Just something to keep in mind. I mean, I'm definitely – Dez will not be on any of my teams this year. Absolutely not. He's facing top-notch talent in the corners most of his games this year. And like I said, I don't know. He's getting up there. He got paid, and now he's having all these nagging little injuries. Yeah, I'd rather not. Other guys around that area are Mari Cooper, Brandon Cooks. I think I'd rather have both of those instead of Dez. Now, moving on to old faithful Jason Witten. I mean, this guy has got to be 95 years old and is still absolutely relevant. He's a guy, if you're streaming quarter or tight ends, you can just grab off the waiver wire any given week, and he seems to produce for you. But I don't see any need in drafting him, and that's kind of what we're talking about. You guys, drafting Jason Witten?
Nope.
No.
All right, that'll wrap it up. The NFC East. Let's move on to the AFC East. We got the New York Jets. Fuck, do we even got to talk about
that?
Fuck them.
Maybe Bilal Powell. Next, Buffalo Bills at 7-9. Finished third in their division. Now, also seem to be tanking on purpose. Now, I thought about this all day at work, and you know what I think's happening? I think they're preparing for post-Brady years in the AFC East. I think they're looking to build draft picks, acquire talent, and save cap space. So when Brady's arm does fall off, they can make a power move. At least that's what it looks like to me. But, yeah, the Jets, totally irrelevant. So on to Tyrod Taylor. How do you feel about Tyrod, Bill?
I like him. I mean, we can see right here he finished the 10th best QB last year. He's got wheels. He's great on the ground. And going in the 13th round, ADP, he's one of those guys, like, as I've been doing my mocks, and I've kind of been staying away from the high-profile QBs, he's one of those guys along with Kirk Cousins that keep kind of falling late, and I'm picking them up.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be willing to take there's lots of late round quarterbacks that definitely pique my interest. Totally viable options. For me personally in our draft, I don't see me taking quarterback before round 10. I think it's unnecessary. But Tyrod would be one that I'd be looking at around that area. How do you feel about Tyrod, Sam?
Well, I want to clarify something. So we, in our league, in a lot of leagues that I've played in, the passing touchdown for quarterbacks 4 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in some leagues, and the trend that I've been seeing, and more people I've been talking to about fantasy, they're getting into like 6 points and more for a passing touchdown. So that's just a note. I wanted to put that out there because when we talk about, we're almost devaluing these quarterbacks, and rightly so, because I got burned last year waiting on running backs, trying to accumulate wide receivers, and I drafted a quarterback too high, and I was just screwed. I mean, there's not a lot of depth at running backs. You get screwed. But to Tyrod Taylor, I plugged him in a couple of times last year. I actually picked him up off waivers, I think, and ran him for a week. He is very talented, and fantasy-wise, I do like him because I like the threat that he provides, and he provides those explosive plays. So I like that. Jordan Matthews, I know we'll get to him in a second. I hope he'll recover. I hope and shine for them. But yeah, I like him for fantasy.
What was his injury? Did he chip a bone, like a collarbone or a rib bone or something?
Sternum,
something
right?
like that.
Sternum or something. I think he cracked a sternum.
Yeah.
Sternum.
Talk about fluky injuries. No sense in talking about LaShawn McCoy. Jonathan Williams, though.
Wait. We should talk about LaShawn McCoy. Where do you feel his value is to be drafted? Do you think
First round?
No, but third. Do you think he's the third best running back?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I would even consider taking him top 5, especially now the position's scarce and it's getting even more scarce. Shady's proven he's done it. The coaches come out and said that they plan on throwing the ball more to Shady. They want to get him more out in space and less between the tackles, and that just screams volume up there. I find him extremely valuable.
Good.
Yeah, I agree.
But he is getting up there in age. I Googled him today at work, and he's 29 years old. And 29 is kind of the peak. This is where the decline starts. That being said, Jonathan Williams, he's a player that kind of interests me. He strikes me as a valuable handcuff. He would walk into a 250, 300 carry role if anything were to happen to Shady. So I don't know. Unless you're into handcuffs, he's somebody I'd look at. You guys, do you handcuff, Bill? You into handcuffing? That's something we haven't talked about.
Yeah, I always target a few handcuffs. And Jonathan Williams would be one of them. I mean, Shady McCoy handcuff is valuable every year. It was Gillislee last year. It was Carlos Williams the year before. I've heard a lot of good things about Jonathan Williams, and they're always put into good situations that can be very productive for you. So, absolutely.
Excellent.
Look for Jonathan Williams.
What do you think, Sam? You like handcuffing?
Absolutely. Running back is just such a volatile position. I think you have to get a couple, to be honest. You got some bench space. You need to get a couple of them there. And last year I did it, and it paid off. I went and grabbed D'Angelo Williams with Le'Veon suspension, and he produced. And I think I went 3-1 Did he play 4 games last year, D'Angelo?
I thought he played 2. Wasn't Le'Veon on a 2-game suspension, or was it 3?
No, it was 3.
It was 3.
3.
I think it was.
Yeah, I had him in 1 league.
In any event, when I started him, I won every game, and he wasn't the sole reason, but he was really consistent. And so it's just, it's nice to have that. And then I hung on to him just in case there was some freak accident, and then I can leverage that in a trade, or I just start him. So, yeah, handcuffing is good. Handcuffing running back in particularly.
I'm into handcuffing a high draft pick running back, but just all around, I don't like it because 9 times out of 10 I wind up cutting them before they become relevant on my roster, before they become startable. So if I'm a lock for the playoffs, I'll start handcuffing, but probably not in the draft.
Well, I want to say that's an important point. I mean, churn percentage is something that I look at, in particularly with our league. There's 2 indications of that. One, either you're being a proactive owner and you're projecting talent is not there, and you're seeing other talent out in the field that is trending up, and so you're making those right moves. But more times than not, owners give up on guys way too early. And especially in an 8-team league, there's enough roster space that you really can hang on to some guys and let them sit. So when I first started my very first year in fantasy, I had no fucking idea what I was doing. None. I literally was talking to Bill, and Bill was like, just giving me some pointers, like, hey, think about this, think about that. Don't give up on this guy. Don't give up on that. And I remembered that advice, as much as it pains me to give that fucker any credit right now. But it was true. And out of everybody in our league, Bill has been the most consistent player in our league. We've played it for, what is this, year 5 or year 6 now?
Year 6.
Year 6 that I've been involved. And I've gone back and looked at the stats and looked at, the value that's at draft, the waiver wire pickups, season place, your record and how you do in the playoffs. And Bill has been in that top echelon every single fucking year, every year. And the big reason for that, what I'm skidding to, is that Bill has actually some of the lowest churn percentage. And when he does have churn, that he actually has improved his roster. So to the handcuff point, there's enough roster spots to not give up. Owners give up way too early. They get to week 3 or 4 or 5, and they're just like, oh, fuck, this guy's not producing. I'm going to cut him. And it's just a bad strategy, in my opinion. You gotta have a couple of spots that you make a little bit of a longer-term investment on.
I see, like a Roth IRA, right?
Like a Roth IRA, but
high-yield CD, something like that.
Not a high-yield CD, but more, something longer term.
That's just Japanese to me. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. All right, on to Anquan Bolden. He's new in town. Was a relevant last season with Detroit. I mean, a pretty decent red zone target. The exit of Sammy Watkins increases his value a little bit. However, I don't see myself drafting him this year. You drafting Anquan Bolden there, Bill?
Probably not. I love him as a football player, but I think there's just so many better players to stack your fantasy team with.
Yeah, I'm ready for him to retire. We can't miss you if he ain't gone, bud. We touched on Jordan Matthews a little earlier today. Has anybody heard any time estimates on him? I thought I heard something like 2 to 4 months, but I might be getting him confused with somebody else. You got any news on him, Sam?
I don't at the moment, but I want to see Bill make that face again when you asked him about Anquan Bolden. He kind of looked like the dude from Men in Black. What was that?
the sugar water guy.
Do it.
Give me sugar water.
Hey, they're not going to nail us for copyright infringement, right? That was spot on.
I hope not.
That was good. I don't have any update on Jordan Matthews. I don't. Sorry.
Yeah, me neither.
If you're on this channel and you're looking for updates like that, get the fuck off and go look at Matthew Berry or something. I don't.
Stephania Bell. She's the most accurate with injuries.
Yeah.
I like her a lot. Not Matt Berry. He's not my favorite. His voice is like nails on a chalkboard. Anyways, I think that's about as much as we can get out of the Buffalo Bills, at least fantasy relevant. Move on to the Miami Dolphins and smoking Jay Cuddy. Anybody catch any of his action last night? How'd he look? Sam?
I didn't watch last night. But I think Bill, you saw a little bit of it, didn't you?
Actually, I didn't catch any of that game. The only one I caught was the Eagles game. But I read a few things.
Yeah, that's the extent of it for me too. I read a few things. I have a hard time with preseason football. I don't see how you can judge players off of that because you got 2s playing against 3s and 3s playing against 4s, and it's just it's skewed. Yeah, I did hear today that Jay Cutler is being drafted as like the 22nd quarterback. I can't believe he's even being taken in leagues now. But I don't see him relevant for our 8-team league or 10-team leagues. So Jarvis Landry, he's been kind of a blah player in our league for the past couple years because we were playing standard. And however, he does get a little more interesting in PPR. Bill, I know that you've owned Jarvis Landry in the past. How do you feel about him going into this season?
I don't know. Jay Cutler possibly changes it a little for me. Tannehill likes to throw a lot underneath. I'm just looking at him. He finished wide receiver 16 last year. I mean, that's great when you're in a team, you're in a league that's rostering 3 wideouts. If you got the 16th best, then you're looking good. I don't know that it hurts him too much for me. If he finished 16, I still think he could be a top 24. I mean, he's a talented guy. He can catch a lot of balls. It kind of depends on Cutler's tendencies, on what he wants to do.
Yeah, he is in a contract year. They didn't pick up the option on his contract. So where's that put Jarvis Landry for you, Sam?
He's draftable. I mean, he's talented.
Going in the late 6th.
I'm just looking at what else is there. I'm looking at
actually he's slid up to the 508 in 10-team leagues. It's kind of a 3-way tie with Spencer Ware and Golden Tate, but he's creeping up in the past few days.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. So we had a discussion, and I made fun of Cutler, and I think I did it to just be Mr. Comedian. I still, whatever on him, but he has changed things. Yeah, he's valuable. I don't know, man. I'm torn on him a little bit. I think in that offense, I think Devontae Parker. I don't know. Again, it's Mr. Vibe here. I know it's no stats, and Bill can wipe his ass with my vibes, but I think Devontae Parker's like I think he's gonna have a better. I think he might have a better fantasy season.
He's definitely the better value, and Jay Cutler had a lot of good things to say about him in his press conference yesterday. I know Bill's high on Devontae Parker. Any off-season action making him climb your draft boards?
Well, I just like smoking Jay Cutler. I can just see him hucking some deep balls down there, and Devontae Parker is an extremely talented wide receiver. That's why the Dolphins drafted him so high. This might be his breakout year.
I could see that totally happening, and since you said it, it'll probably happen. Since I said I think Kenny Stills would be the more beneficial one, but now I'm starting to change my tune a little bit after this week's action. Kenny Stills, undrafted. Maybe he gets hot and you can pick him up off of waivers. I'm not spending any fat budget on him now after hearing Jay Cutler in that press conference. I mean, historically, Jay Cutler's had that one guy. He's had one guy, and even he'll force it in double, triple coverage. He don't give a fuck. He's getting the ball to that guy, and he came out and said that guy is Devontae Parker. So last guy, tight ends, Sam's favorite subject, Julius Thomas. Relevant since Peyton Manning, Bill? Or are we moving on?
The talent is there. He was kind of in a shitty spot the last couple of years, and again, I mean, let's not waste too much time on tight ends. You're throwing darts if you're not taking the top couple, but he could be
throwing shit against the wall. See if it'll stick, right? Throwing shit against the wall, make sure it sticks.
Yeah,
kind of what you're doing with Julius Thomas. All right, let's move on to the current reigning Super Bowl champs, the New England Patriots. 14-2, of course, won the Super Bowl in dramatic fashion. I did highlight in my notes, fuck these guys, because just like the rest of America, except for Pats fans, we're tired of them. Let's move on. They were like the Cowboys of the 90s and just fucking tired of them. Let somebody else have a turn. Keep it interesting. In the offseason, they did seem to sign every free agent running back that was out there. And personally, I know Bill Belichick hates fantasy football, so I have no desire to take him. Even Mike Gillislee, there's no guarantee that he slides into that LeGarrette Blount role, and I'm pretty sure he's banged up in practice. Other guys by him are LeGarrette Blount, Adrian Peterson, C.J. Anderson. You taking Gillislee in front of any of these guys, Sam?
Well, you know what's funny? So yeah, I think he tweaked his hamstring. I think that's what it was. Nobody's really talking about Dion Lewis, man. Like, what's the deal with Dion Lewis?
I don't know. I'm surprised he's still on the roster, to be honest. I mean, they haven't paid him. They don't play him. They don't talk about him. I'm not even sure what kind of reps he's getting in practice. I'm confused. He was relevant a couple years ago, semi-injury prone, but what's his role?
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. Belichick hates fantasy football. He always fucks it up, man.
I think he does it on purpose. I think he thinks he's fucking funny. You know, shit ain't funny, Bill. Shit ain't funny. Fucking with people's lives and emotions. It's not funny. Knock it off. All right. On to Julian Edelman. They paid him in the offseason. I think it's a 3-year contract. 15, 18 million, something. I'm just pulling numbers off the top of my head. I didn't stat it. Finished last year wide receiver 23. Did really well for me in full point PPR. This year, wide receiver 28, going in mid-7th. Seems kind of high for me. I know he's kind of high for you there, Bill. How do you feel about Julian Edelman, Sam?
I think I don't feel high on him. And I know Bill talked about that earlier, and I would agree. I hate to be Mr. Agreeer, but
yeah, it's getting kind of fucking old.
Yeah, I know. I'm sifting for something to just start an argument. I've been trying.
I am absolutely taking Edelman in the mid-7th. Absolutely, especially in half-point PPR. I mean, they paid him for a reason. He's Tom Brady's shadow. The odds of Gronk staying healthy, we'll get to him in a minute, but I think that's slim. And we'll get to Brandon Cooks too, but I still think Julian Edelman's the number 1 receiver on that offense.
In the 7th, I would probably take him. I'd probably take him in the 7th or 8th.
Now, would you rather have Julian Edelman in the mid-7th or Brandon Cooks in the mid-3rd, Bill?
That's tough. Just because we haven't seen Brandon Cooks with Tom Brady yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't know what his usage is really going to look like. The thing I stated earlier is I have a hard time with any receivers on that team because, and especially now that they've added Brandon Cooks to the mix. Like, who's going to get it? It could be Julian Edelman this game and Brandon Cooks the next and Rob Gronkowski the one after that.
Do you see Tom Brady maintaining the same volume this season that he's had in years past? Do you see him being able to feed that many mouths?
Absolutely. He's probably only going to get better.
Fuck that guy and his supermodel wife. What the fuck? Some guys get it all, man. That fucking chiseled jaw. Fuck that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck him.
Yeah.
Honestly, I heard a crazy stat on Brandon Cooks. He's never played a game in less than 50 degrees. How do you see him faring in New England, Sam?
That's a tough one. If he was on another team, I think the picture would be far more clear. It's hard to say. I mean, maybe he's a Randy Moss. Maybe he's not. I don't know, man. It's hard to predict what Belichick's going to do. I mean, fuck. Maybe they'll turn Brandon Cooks into a tight end or something. Who knows?
There's no telling with that guy.
Yeah, it's hard. He's very talented. He demonstrated that with Breezy, but fuck. I just don't know. But I agree. I want to what Bill said about Brady. Brady's going to be able to. His value's up, and I think he's going to be able to keep all those mouths.
My take on that trade is Brandon Cooks going to New England is better for the Patriots than it is for Brandon Cooks' fantasy
I agree.
value.
Absolutely agree. Now moving on to Gronk. Gronk, he's been moving too in the recent ADPs. He's going right at the back of the second, the 2-3 turn. Played only 8 games last season, averaged a ridiculous amount of yards per catch. Small sample size. Commanding that draft capital, can you find any value in the risk that you'd have to take with Gronk there, Bill?
No, I think I love Gronk. He's fucking awesome. But I can't see myself taking a tight end that early. And I know he's going to go there in a shit ton of drafts, but you know what? Let the fucking Casey's of the world or whoever else in our league take him, because there's going to be another great running back and receiver we can get there.
Last year it was fucking Luckbox Spotty. That's what I'm calling him this year. Luckbox Spotty. Luckbox right into the fucking playoffs.
I remember the pause when he did that. It was like he's like, I'll take Gronkowski, and we went, really? Like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I mean, it was just like,
I will say, I'll take him over Des Bryant, who also is apparently going in the late second. If that's worth anything to you.
I think Des is about the only player right there I'd take him over, though. But let's see. Well, I don't know. Right there in that range, you got Leonard Fournette. He's also going on the 2-3 turn. T.Y. Hilton and Doug Baldwin. I might take Gronk in front of all those guys. Maybe even in front of Todd Gurley that's going at the 208 spot. All right.
We'll talk more about Doug Baldwin when we cover the NFC West.
West.
I like Doug Baldwin.
Yeah, well, that's not going to be Tuesday's episode because we're heading south for Tuesday's episode. I know AFC South for me, NFC South for Sam. I know my nuts are big and swollen, ready to talk about my team. Super excited. I know Sam feels the same way. Next week we got the South, and then Friday will be a different kind of episode. Me personally, I have two leagues that I care about. The big one with these guys, and then I have a side league that I've been in like 7-8 years, and that one's online drafting on Friday. Unfortunately, I'll be on an airplane on my way home on Friday when that draft starts, so I better get my auto draft settings in. But as soon as I land, I'm grabbing my bags, grabbing an Uber over to Sam's house, and we're going to crank out a fantasy draft episode just in time for your drafts on the 26th. Bill will be picking up one of our league mates. Is also his brother, another good friend. Maybe we can get that guy to make an appearance. We'll see. But any parting thoughts, parting words, guys?
I'm getting draft fever, man.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'm getting rash.
Yeah, I think doing these previews of these players is fun and all, but the real juice and shit talking and the fun times are going to be when the league actually starts. I think we're going to be able to really talk about our own league, talk about what we do, have situations with how we are, and have it be I'm way looking forward to just the season to start, man.
I'm excited too. I want our viewers to know we're getting this content out early, and we want you guys to get to know us, get to know what our schedule is. We love if you would live chat with us, get interactive. We want to grow our fantasy football circle. We love it. If you guys are watching this, you love it too. So make sure you join us every Tuesday and Friday at 9 p.m. Also, as the season progresses and we get hot breaking news, we'll pop up live anytime, anywhere, to give you breaking news and our takes. Make sure you make sure you subscribe, and pretty soon we'll get some Twitter handles up and you follow us on there. With that being said, I guess we'll catch you guys on Tuesday. Have a great weekend.
Peace.
See you.